Thank you for taking the welcome survey. I can sense that the questions made you feel afraid or disoriented. Well, the good news is you're at an orientation.
Let's talk about Severance, you guys. I need to talk about it. Season 2's over, and like many viewers, I need to decompress and reintegrate.
Open the door!
Step off, out.
Do it!
No!
Now!
No!
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 No! No!
The show's unique premise is not only dramatically satisfying, offering a window into the different layers of identity, but it's also an incredible challenge for the actors involved. Ever since I started watching, I was just itching to know how an actor would tackle the unique circumstances of playing multiple versions of a character. I mean, it's been done before in different ways. You got, what, Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor? And I think that's it. That's the only time this has ever happened.
In some countries, it's considered a compliment.
You know, in the good old days, there might be a plethora of special features or audio commentary on, I don't know, a physical copy of a film or TV show. There is actually a physical copy of Severance in Season 1. Nothing on it. Absolutely nothing. No, all this cool stuff is just severed all over the place, whether it's official behind-the-scenes videos from Apple, cast interviews, podcasts. There's a Severance podcast, by the way. I had no idea. So I snooped around, opened some doors, and in addition to the odd goat or two...
Emil is the name of the goat.
Oh, okay.
I found some insightful interviews from the actors involved going into detail on all the research and prep work and talking about their characters and what they're feeling, the acting methods they've employed to create them, and I just want to share them with you. We'll also talk a little bit about how their previous roles in film and television may have impacted their performances. But before we get into it, this video will contain spoilers of both Seasons 1 and 2.
Yes. Oh my god, spoiler alert, please.
So if you prefer to remain severed, I mean, just don't watch this. This is for Lumen eyes only.
This isn't like hell or something?
No.
Then why the f can't I leave?
Well, you did leave, just now. Out into the stairwell, at least. You left, but you came back.
I did not.
You did. Come on.
Let's start off with our main guy, Adam Scott. Casting-wise, it's a brilliant choice because in a show that seamlessly drifts between heavy drama and offbeat comedy, you would want somebody who could believably do both.
We had a life together.
Scott's entire career is a kaleidoscope of different tones and genres. The early part of his career wasn't comedy at all, it was bit parts in Star Trek First Contact, Hellraiser Bloodline, even a sleazy press agent in The Aviator.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until he played Brennan's obnoxious alpha male brother in Step Brothers when his career took a huge pivot into comedy.
Okay, I haven't had a carb since 2004. Check these out. See these? See these, boys?
And as fate would have it, Severance director Ben Stiller admitted that this specific scene from the film was when he knew Adam was a great actor.
Well, Dale, they are what's called a trophy fish. So, yeah, they're pretty big. I'm sorry. Don't be mad at Dale for ruining the story and possibly the evening. It's totally fine. I have a lot more stories.
Derek, that you do.
Yeah.
Not to mention that Ben enjoyed Adam's performance as an antagonist when they both starred in Stiller's film The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And finally, the fact that Ben and creator Dan Erickson felt that the show shared the same DNA as iconic workplace comedies like Office Space, The Office, and Parks and Rec, in which Adam also starred.
You think a depressed person could make this?
That all seemed to cement Adam as the ideal series lead.
I think he has, defined what the sort of office culture attitude is in movies and television, comedically and seriously. But he's just like such an interesting dude because he's so normal but not normal.
As far as Adam's approach to playing innie Mark and outie Mark, Adam has said that he had to resist the temptation to make them separate characters. Now, that's kind of odd to me as a viewer to hear because they feel very much like different characters when you watch it. You just root for them both in different ways. One of them has 40-some-odd years of life experience and sorrow and joy and everything, and the other is pretty much a chipper company man who's 2 years old. Which is something they do in the show, by the way. They treat him like children, like when he gets the little Band-Aid put on him by Milkchick, and he's like a toddler. But the way Adam puts it in this interview for In Creative Company, it not only makes sense, but it seems crucial from an acting perspective.
Mark on the outside is grieving his wife, and so he brings a lot of sadness with him to work. And so Mark on the inside has those feelings in him. He just doesn't, have the wherewithal to name them or locate them or know what they are. As far as playing the two different sides, it was just a constant kind of game of addition and subtraction. As far as, this one's like kind of a clean slate. This one has all of this baggage. But what of that baggage is carried in, kind of just physiologically? What is unavoidable that you would feel on the way in? What instinctively does this one have that this one does not? What sort of common sense things carry through?
And by the way, this concept of playing the innies and outies as two halves of the same person seems to be a note that was incorporated across the board with every actor, which makes sense because narratively there's this ongoing element of emotions overlapping between innies and outies.
There's a bleed through, I think, a little bit that happens because of the shared subconscious, because of the ways in which our bodies store the trauma and joy that we experience. It's like PD said in season 1, like you still feel it down there, you just don't know why.
The elevator sequences in particular were kind of a training ground for Adam to practice switching between these personas at the snap of a finger. In a 2022 interview for Backstage magazine, he said, quote, "As we got further and further down the road, the elevator transitions got easier and easier once going back and forth became more habitual. As I got to know each of them better and better, I was able to know exactly what those contents were that I was either getting rid of or putting back in to have that internal shift that would need to happen." Switching to Mark's outie, Adam said once he found out all the things he had in common with the character, he then did his best to use personal experience to relate to the depression and self-loathing.
The outside Mark, I felt like, for me, Adam, it's all the things that I hate about myself. I sometimes odd and don't feel odd and don't know exactly what to say in larger groups of people, particularly people who seem very comfortable and verbose. I don't have great posture. I tried to sort of find all of those things, and there's a certain amount of exhaustion with the Mark on the outside, exhaustion with his life in general, and he's sort of had it with himself. And I think that's part of his reasoning for going down there 8 to 10 hours a day, is that he's just sick of himself. His life is now waking up in the morning, driving to a building, and then he just immediately is leaving the building and driving home and eating and going to sleep. That's what his life is now. Most of his life is now a blank void, where he just disappears and he doesn't have to feel anything.
Additionally, Adam Scott's mother had recently passed away prior to filming the first season, and he mentions in this interview on Mike Birbiglia's podcast how that affected his performance, especially in Mark's introductory scene where he's crying in his car before going to work.
So for that scene, we had both kind of lost a parent in recent times. So I think there was a sort of unsaid connection there, and so after a couple takes, Ben was just like, really feel free to open yourself up and just let it all out, like really feel it, and like no one's watching, just let go. And so I did, and it felt incredible. Yeah, honestly. And I was really glad we did it.
As far as playing Mark's innie, that's where Adam's comedic chops really came more into play. In addition to the intentional homages to other Office comedies with the banal banter back and forth.
The renovations are very nice.
Yeah. Dylan, you all right?
Fine.
Well, that's the best you can do. Where's the sly profanity-laced cutback?
Adam has said on multiple occasions how much fun it was to just talk to the other actors and theorize about how much they know, like the depth of their knowledge of the world.
Did you really see the outie world?
Yeah.
How's the sky?
I don't know.
And how even the smallest change of something in the office is just this huge event, like the music dance experience. So Adam couldn't speak for how the other actors approached this scene, but he played this as if any Mark knew what the music dance experience was. Maybe he had heard of it in the past as a potential reward, but this was his first time hearing music and dancing.
It's not like they watch television. You don't see people dancing. So that was a thing on set. We were like, well, how do we know how to dance? And so just like the alphabet and knowing the English language and having some sort of common sense instilled in you when you wake up there for the first time, there are certain things you carry over from one to the other. So I think Mark's dancing is just sort of the very rudimentary, I am now moving my body to this music, trying to come up with something that could exist without any outside influence whatsoever, and it resulted in the dance that you see on the show.
The whole time I was watching this show, I was hoping for some way for Mark's innie and outie to find a way to talk to one another. And that finally came in the season 2 finale, where they have this exchange back and forth via a video camera.
But the first thing I need to say to you is that I am so sorry. You know, I created you as a prisoner and as an escape.
Which starts off kind of odd and beautiful, where the two of them try to really learn about and understand each other, because Mark's innie has to make the ultimate sacrifice to save Gemma.
You want me to give my life?
No.
The lives of everyone down there?
No, it's not that simple.
Just to save one person you happen to care about.
But their conversation quickly gets heated after the innie questions how merging their two personalities will work.
And if you help me, I won't abandon you. I promise.
You know what I think? I think the second you get your wife back, you forget I ever existed. I think that I disappear along with every innie down there. What do you want from me? We are in this together. Can't you just trust me?
It's just phenomenal work, again, on Scott's part, because you can really see his method of playing the same character, but with different baggage and motivations.
What sucks is that she got to have that and I didn't. That she used me to track my friends, used my body to get close to you, that she dresses me in the morning like I'm a baby, that she controls me and this company and all of us. It's disgusting.
Speaking of complicated, Adam Scott certainly has the weight of the show on his shoulders, but Britt Lower, who plays Helly/Helena, has maybe the hardest acting job on the show, especially in the second season.
That wasn't me. Mark, look, I'm not her. I'm not. I'm me. Helly.
A little background on Britt. She's been around for over a decade in film and television with, again, this comes up, a good mix of drama and comedy.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
I don't need help. I sleep like a baby. I guess that's what happens when you find someone who really loves you.
One of her first roles in a big film was as a kind of snooty wife looking to buy Tina Fey's childhood home in Sisters. She had a few kind of upper-class characters like this, which kind of suits her poised, emotionally distant portrayal of Helena.
Was that a fart?
You're damn right it was a fart. And that's all that you're getting from me, because I'm not paying you a damn dime.
But she's also great with comedic timing, even when playing it straight, as she's psychologically tortured by Dennis in an episode of Always Sunny.
But look, maybe I can fill that void, you know, if only for a few hours of sexual bliss.
Oh. No, what?
Sex.
What?
Oh. Well.
This is so bad.
She even ended up working with Adam Scott prior to Severance, playing his wife in the short-lived supernatural comedy Ghosted.
Do not look for me.
What?
Now, I mentioned Britt has maybe the most work to do in the show, and one big reason is that unlike Mark, whose innie and outie are kind of helping each other out, without fully realizing it, Helly's innie and outie are knowingly at each other's throats.
But I think ultimately you're watching a person like waging a war within themselves.
I am a person. You are not. I make the decisions. You do not.
Now, we didn't even get a sense of who Helly's outie was until the end of the first season when it's revealed that she's an Egan.
You and your family created hell and you're going to burn in it.
And throughout season 2, it's revealed she may in fact be much more of an antagonist, but it's not entirely clear yet what her true intentions are. Like, is she towing the line, or is she secretly gonna buck the system like her innie does, which is an interesting maybe personality trait that bleeds over? It's just a lot going on here.
Who are you?
As a result, there are so many versions of Helena that Britt has had to play over the course of the series. I mean, look, first you've got Helly, right? The innie. Funny, passionate, angry at her situation, the rebel, and she's gonna, essentially, she drives the entire plot, forcing the other innies to question everything.
Everything we do here is important.
It's important because it actually is, or because you're saying it is?
And then there's Helena, the company gal, cold, calculated, frustrated that her innie has caused so much trouble, just trying to keep her head above water in this bureaucracy, trying to fix everything by any means possible.
I'm not going back down there.
It won't be you. It will be your innie.
My innie who tried to kill me?
I mean, you get the sense that Helena is not above making somebody just disappear to restore order to Lumen. But then you get into all this double agent stuff. Like, not only was she Helly pretending to be Helena briefly at the end of the first season, but then she was Helena pretending to be Helly for several episodes of the second season.
She's not Helly! She's an Egan!
It's like that famous clip of Mel Blanc somehow pulling off playing Daffy Duck playing Bugs Bunny and vice versa. It's kind of phenomenal.
Where do you get that duck season stuff? Says so right over there on that sign. You're so smart.
And on top of that, you have several other masks she wears just as Helena. One is the public persona that she's attempting to cleanse in a damage control confession tape.
But in the hours since this outburst, I've been reminded just how seriously my family's company affects the lives of real people around the world.
And then she introduces herself to Mark's outie in the restaurant, which is a whole other weird power play.
And I know you've already been through so much with losing your wife and all. Hannah.
Gemma.
But then there's the Helena that nobody sees. Some of Britt's favorite scenes to shoot, in fact, involved Helena when she is alone and doesn't have to pretend anymore. Britt specifically calls out this scene from the second season, where Helena is watching security footage of her and Mark's innie having an intimate moment.
However many masks that Helena is wearing, which oftentimes it's several, those are stripped away and you see her longing for something. But it's a kind of a cocktail of, I think, things that she's feeling there. There's like, she's been raised to believe that the innies are subhuman.
They're f***ing animals.
And here she is having this intimate moment with another innie. Her innie's having an intimate moment with another, and it's like, oh, that's her body. Again, like, that's her body that experienced that. So somewhere in her, physiologically, it has an effect. Again, like someone who's really starved for connection, of course, that would rattle them.
Not only does Britt navigate this acting minefield with grace, but she also wisely realizes what they have in common, the things that overlap between them, and like any good actor, she has empathy for her characters, even for Helena.
That's enough, Helly E.
Don't you mean Helly E?
And while innie Mark is desperate to find a way to keep the severed floor alive, Helly, on the other hand, just wants to destroy Lumen by any means necessary, even if it means sacrificing herself, which it seems like she's already come to grips with that in Season 1, or sacrificing the love between her and Mark, because she knows at the end of the day who she ultimately is.
Yeah, but I want to live with you.
But I'm her, Mark.
And again, there's a ton to examine and overthink about the Season 2 finale with Britt's performance. Helly seems content with her end, but then kind of takes charge with this innie uprising.
This desk used to have 4 seats. Our friend Irving is gone, and they want our whole department gone.
Britt is fantastic throughout this episode, just truly incredible, because at some points I thought that maybe Helena did the old switcheroo game again, while other times I saw Helly's acceptance of her fate and then relief and joy of Mark picking her and the rest of the severed floor. But then again, I don't know, her look back at Gemma has me asking more questions again. You see, that decision, that look, it all seemed cruel.
Helly was never cruel.
Her performance in the final minutes just really excited me the most about the next season.
I actually cried when you guys put up the youthful convalescence of Kier. No, I did. I never thought I'd see the handbook passage depicted visually. It was only up for a month or so. But man, what a month.
Ah, John Turturro. What can we say about this guy that hasn't already been said? What can I add to this conversation? From Spike Lee to the Coen brothers to absurd performances in Adam Sandler films, John Turturro seemed like a no-brainer when Ben's casting director suggested him. Just another pro who can seamlessly shift to any kind of tone.
All right, Helly. Hip hip.
When John was asked if he was interested in the role of Irving, 2 things were immediately important. First, he obviously wanted to read as much of the material as possible, which at the time was maybe 3 episodes worth. But he could only glean so much from the first few scripts, since Irving is arguably the character we know the least about. So creator Dan Erickson wrote this extensive backstory for him, which John has mentioned in multiple interviews that he can't really talk about any of it, he'll just be executed. He did admit in a Vulture interview that there's a potential military background, something that's alluded to briefly in the first season. Like, look at all this stuff, Hank. I think it's safe to say he was in the Navy or something. Quote, Irving obviously is the kind of person who knows how to track certain things. If he's not sure about something, he'll track it, and he's mathematical in that approach, saying, well, this doesn't equal that, so maybe it could be something innocuous, or it could be something threatening.
Passage 31, page 110, be content in my words, and dally not in the scholastic pursuits of lesser men.
No books except the handbook, I know.
Considering the overall through line of certain personality traits or mannerisms bleeding through from the outie to the innie and vice versa, a potential military background makes sense, and John also recognizes how a by-the-books character like Irving serves the overall narrative.
Like I say, where his background is, it's obviously disciplined and very formal and stuff, so I think when you have the person who has bought into everything, and saying that, I believe in this, whether it's the government, a cult, a religion, whatever, military, whatever it is. When that person starts to doubt it, that's a big, a big crack, because you've invested so much in who you are in that.
Irving's initial commitment to Lumen is something Turturro tried to tap into whenever he could. There was actually one particular scene that Ben Stiller and Adam Scott called out on the Severance podcast that perfectly illustrated this.
I remember also, there's a moment in episode 3 when you pull Mark aside and you say, we should take her to the perpetuity wing.
It just seems premature. That place is a lot.
Correct. That place is everything.
There was such an intensity of belief, an understanding of why it was important to take her to the perpetuity wing that told me so much about Irving in terms of his
commitment to the ideology or the Kier Lumen, the rules and the mythology that you'd been taught and abided by and lived by. To me, that moment, I was like, oh, this is why the show can work, because John Turturro as Irving is saying, you have to take her to perpetuity wing, and I believe him, that there's such a depth there that I don't even know if it was even there in the writing of that scene.
It was the first real one-on-one scene that I had with John, so I was nervous about it. And it really helped me because I was still, defining all the corners of Mark, and Mark had to be a believer in the place in order to, become disillusioned with it. But he had to be in between someone like Irving and then someone like Dylan or Helly or something like that. So it really helped me kind of find the gradations of where Mark falls in the kind of Lumen lore of it all.
Additionally, John's background in theater affected the way he delivered his lines. To him, it was important to not try and give too much of an off-the-cuff performance rooted in some kind of naturalism.
It's the perpetuity wing. It's the Egans. It's the living soul of Lumen. And everything she stands for, not a bingo match. Look.
For example, during the retreat episode, when he's dunking Helena's head in and out of the water, trying to get a confession out of her, he has this wonderful line.
Yes! Do it, Seth!
Now, presumably, a line like this doesn't look that remarkable on the page. Probably just, yes, do it, Seth. But he really did something great with it. In the same Vulture interview, John said, quote, I tried it a few different ways, but that was the right reading they chose. When you have a good line, it's like squeezing a lemon, man. You want to get everything out of it, and you want to hit that operative word. I thought it was like throwing a spear at somebody. But what seemed to be the most important element for John was his insistence that he be comfortable with whoever played Irving's innie's love interest, Bert.
Is this okay? Irving, the Lumen manual doesn't say anything about lip-to-lip contact. It does discourage romantic fraternization, though.
He wanted somebody who he could feel open with, and in negotiations with Stiller, he suggested Christopher Walken, who he's worked with and directed many times over the years.
It's just a delight to work with him. So it's easy if you have a strong feeling towards someone already as a person, and they have an openness, and I use the word, and he really dances with his partners. So he said, well, do you think Chris would be open to it? And I said, well, I could give him a call.
So these scenes between him and Walken were not only crucial to him from an acting perspective, but they ended up being a nice reprieve from what sounded like not a terribly difficult shoot for John, but, he mentioned that the ensemble scenes with the other innies, they were tough at first. And that's another factor here. We got to keep in mind that the first season of Severance was heavily delayed as a result of the COVID pandemic, and when they finally started shooting, everybody was wearing face shields and masks and just everything. Now think about this from John's perspective. You're thrown into an ensemble cast, you haven't worked with any of these actors before, you're in the process of getting to know them and how they work, but everyone has a mask on, even during rehearsals, and you're not able to see something as simple as a facial expression until the cameras are rolling. I mean, that's gotta throw you off.
I didn't really know them that well. So, and we were during COVID, so we were still separated. So it was interesting navigating that, getting to know them, and then having the scenes with Chris. Those scenes became sort of a relief from the world of, what we were doing.
Having Walken on set was not only a welcome respite from the grind of the micro-refinement floor, but their chemistry is fantastic. It's a relationship that seems doomed to never be, whether they're innies or outies. But it's one of the strongest emotional cores of the show.
You walk out of here with your memories. You carry them home with you every night. No one can rip them away from you, snuff them out, like they never existed. Like you never existed! That's enough!
This, in particular, is just a beautiful moment between Bert and Irving at the end of season 2.
I've never been loved before. Not really. No. I have. How does it feel? I don't know.
Which almost mirrors the initial intimate moment that their innies had, by the way. You got Walken saying,
"Just stay."
But instead, this time Bert is sadly telling Irving to go and just get as far away from Keir as possible.
Just go. I've never had this.
And thanks to Irving's story arc with this season, this is when I really began to struggle seeing where the innies and outies begin and end. Anyway, I'm just excited to see more John Turturro. I mean, his character seems like the key to a lot of stuff, and his performance just continues to ground the whole thing in something tangible and real.
Let's find out what's for dinner.
What you gotta do is trick the machine by thinking about something you're really sorry about. So, I like to imagine my Audi's love made with a MILF or two, which is obviously badass, but I do pity the husbands.
Dylan may be my favorite character, and Zach Cherry pulls something off with Dylan that is definitely a testament to the writing, but his performance as well. He's essentially the comic relief character.
Oh, as a reminder, Post-it notes are not to be put on faces. They clog your Audi's pores.
That one's about me. I do this beloved character, Sticky Head.
Also, please refrain from boasting about previously earned waffle parties.
Feeling attacked?
But then, as a viewer, I was thrown when he had these unexpected emotional moments as the series progresses.
And now I'm just supposed to have that in my head every day here. I never get to see him again.
He's not your son, Dylan. He's your Audi's son.
That's bullshit. He's my son, too.
A little about Zach, right? He's got this heavy background in comedy, especially improv, something he picked up performing at Upright Citizens Brigade. Also, fun side note, Britt Lower also performed at UCB. And for over a decade, his bread and butter has been mostly sitcoms.
It's just that the show needs you to die.
Is there like a SAG after representative I can talk to?
Although he did land a couple of memorable supporting roles in the MCU, filming a fight scene on his phone in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I actually did take a little bit of martial arts as a youth, so I'm gonna try and grade this fight as we're going.
And asking Spider-Man to do a flip in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Call me Spider-Man! Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah! Not bad!
What's interesting is that you can kind of see the same style in his early work that you see in Severance. This very natural demeanor, it's nothing broad or overly goofy, and he often played characters who were not only in a position of power, but were extremely overconfident.
I'm an enigma. You can't pigeonhole me. I'm there and then I'm gone. I'm intellectually promiscuous, but culturally conservative. I work hard, but I do not play hard. I play easy. Why would you play hard?
Good question.
In an interview on Zach Braff's Zach Braff is a podcast. Everyone's got a podcast. Podcast. In an interview on Zach Braff's podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends, Zach seems pretty sure one of these overconfident characters convinced Ben Stiller to bring him in for an audition.
I think he had seen, I'm in one episode of Succession, like sort of very briefly, and I think he had seen that and had seen some of my other kind of comedy stuff.
In his second audition for Ben and creator Dan Erickson, Zach had another tool in his belt that he was able to use.
Again, my improv background came into effect where he was like, let's kind of like play around with the scene and riff a little bit, because I think he was looking to, you know, he always wanted the show to have a little bit of an office comedy feel to it, especially in the segments in the office in that first season.
He mentioned in an interview for Variety that his improv continues to help him in his performance. Quote, "When I do improvise, a lot of it doesn't make it into the show. Some of it does, but it helps me figure out the boundaries of the character, and it helps me keep the scenes feeling alive."
You two enjoy sneaking off the other day? Baby goats?
Why are you saying it like that?
Well,
Are you implying that baby goats is code for sex with Mark S?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Is baby goats code for sex with Mark S?
Another thing Zach has touched on is how the COVID protocols may have had a positive effect on the chemistry between him and his fellow actors.
It was very strange, and the only people who would ever take their masks off were the actors in the scenes. So like we would go all day only seeing each other's faces, you know? So
yeah, you don't see the crew at all. Yeah.
At all. It was very strange, but I do think that kind of helped accelerate our sort of comfort level and like intimacy, because it was really weird.
All right, so we know Zach can be funny. These office scenes early on in the first season help paint a picture of who Dylan is. He's essentially a version of these overly confident characters he's played in the past. He's good at his job, and he knows he's good at his job. He's obsessed with all the little rewards that you get, little caricature drawings and finger traps. And also, Dylan just has fun imagining these grand scenarios of who his outie could be.
I like to think my outie lives on like a riverboat.
But then, all of that begins to change. Throughout the show, every innie has their own motivation to begin a rebellion against Lumen.
I've awoken you at home. I need to know where you put it.
And for Zach, it was when Milchick woke him up outside of the office and he saw his child.
Is that my kid?
End it.
Daddy.
We good here?
We're good.
And it's the beginning of a shift in Dylan's character that allowed Zach to go places he's really never gone before as an actor.
I want to remember my f***ing kid being born!
As someone who has sort of, my bread and butter has been like Spider-Man do a flip type roles where I pop in and I, say something silly and then I'm kind of out of there. It has been really cool on this show to get to do more than that. So I do still get to have a lot of fun and have a lot of funny stuff going on, but they really have like allowed me to show some different sides of things I've just never been asked to do before.
The second season especially gave more to Zach to work with. As Dylan's outie, he's the complete opposite.
My husband has had trouble keeping other jobs.
He dumb?
He never quite found his thing.
Meanwhile, Dylan's innie, as a reward for his hard work, is given short visits with his outie's wife and becomes this sweet, shy little teddy bear. He just can't stop looking at this woman he doesn't know, but maybe on some deep unconscious level he does.
I wish we could really be together. Like, all the time.
I mean, we are. Aren't we?
You and him are. But I'm not.
In that same Variety interview, Dylan talks about how he approached this pivotal moment when his wife says,
I love you.
Quote, that's probably the first time he's ever heard that. It's something that maybe felt normal to her because of her relationship with his outie, but to him, it's a huge moment. I doubt he's ever heard someone earnestly say they love him. God, this whole situation between Dylan's innie and outie and his wife, it's something that literally couldn't exist in any other show, right? And the chemistry between Zach and the phenomenal Merritt Weaver, it brings this sweet, sad, complicated relationship to life, both inside and outside of Lumen.
He reminds me of how you used to be.
Okay.
Dylan.
I don't know, maybe I just go quit. Maybe I go in and I quit and I just end his existence. How about that?
Every actor has a role that comes along that not only puts them on the map, but is able to tap into something that they've never been able to show before. For years, Zach has been this funny guy, and even outside of acting, his charm, his improv experience, his quick wit has landed him a hosting gig on the Great American Baking Show. And just another quick thing that I love about this show is just all the little details and things. Like, it's full circle with Dylan with these little tier incentive rewards that he loves, that he just obsesses over. He cuts up one of the finger traps, his beloved finger traps, to make the little engagement ring to propose to his wife.
I love you, and I know I'm just an innie, but I love you all the way I do. I made this for you. I can give you a life, please.
It's just a devastating example of life where this fun-loving guy gets his heart broken for the first time ever, and then he's just, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Hello, Dylan.
He said no?
While Helly and Mark's innies and outies are kind of at odds with one another because they have different motivations, Dylan's innie and outie want what the other one has. They're both kind of saying, why can't I be like that guy?
I hope someday she sees in me what she sees in you. In the meantime, if I'm being really honest, I guess I like knowing you're there.
Overall, I cannot wait to see more work from this cast in season 3. Hopefully it doesn't take another 300 years. Get the cast back in that office as quickly as possible. Trap them in a little glass box like they did with the little pop-up event. It's also fun to just have a show again that you can pick apart, and all the symbolism and the different visuals, the colors and the blue and the orange, and wondering what things mean. It's like having Lost all over again. And if you guys are interested in other deep dives on Severance cast members and how they approach their roles, I'd really love to do a follow-up on Tremel Tillman, who plays Mr. Milchick. He just seems to be the breakout star of this show. I love him. Anyway, thanks for watching, and praise Kier.